What's going on, everybody? This is Jeff with AltCoin Buzz. So today we're going to talk about we're going to do a market update, and we're also going to talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a store of value versus precious metals, gold, all that kind of stuff. And we'll even throw in some interesting other ideas for store of value, and we'll kind of talk about that in this video. So first and foremost, if you're new here, you can click subscribe and click that bell to get notified when videos like this drop. Let's go ahead and kick this right off here. So we got GDAX here. Watching this, you can see we pushed past 9,000. That was kind of the magic number that I was anticipating to see any sort of excitement from my end, because we were forming a nice level of support, resistance, if you want to call it that, around the $8,500 to $8,800 Bitcoin range. And I said, well, if we pass 9,000, that's someplace we haven't been in the upswing, and we did that here recently over the last 12 hours or so. So you can see the price of Bitcoin here finally climbed up, right? It's Valentine's Day. What do you think about that? We got a nice push here. There's a couple things playing into factor here. Number one is the Chinese New Year. Also keep in mind Tet. For all those Vietnam era collegiate historians, you know about the Tet Offensive. Tet is 3 days that takes place in the Lunar New Year, and I believe those 3 days are upon us very quickly. I don't know the exact dates, but I have some friends in Asia, and they were talking about what they're getting ready to do for Tet. That's T-E-T. You can look it up online. Anyways, just a little interesting point to put out there, because as the Tet holiday ends, it'll be interesting to see how Asia responds, right? And the anticipated result is that during the Tet holiday, families will come together and they will share their stories about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, which will further the adoption and the spread of information. It's kind of like during the holidays in America, you would anticipate that people come together, you guys talk to your family about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, so you've already planted that seed and now it's growing, right? Same way someone planted the seed with you and it grew and then you got in. So if we just look at the market overall, we're at a $450 billion market cap, 34% Bitcoin dominance. That's not really changed too much. And it's funny because that's like always where Bitcoin just kind of stabilizes, 33 to 34%. It hasn't gone below 30%. And if and when it does, that would be an interesting moment for cryptocurrency. But dependent upon how many valuable altcoins we get in the market, I will be taking that into consideration when observing that. So, as you can see here, we have a run with Litecoin, with LitePay. Go on to Twitter here and just type in "pay with Litecoin," and you can see people, posting their stuff on here with Charlie Lee. He's definitely the ambassador of Litecoin. We've also got some information coming from LitePay. And yeah, if you're invested in Litecoin, check this out, LitePay on Twitter. Also, let's talk about what I posted on here this morning. So, this is on our Twitter, AltCoinBuzzIO. You can follow us there if you're not already. As a digital nomad. So, a digital nomad. Someone who travels around, often developing business. Having physical gold isn't a convenient store of value like Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum. Why get a safety deposit box when all you need is a hardware wallet? Digital gold makes sense. So let me kind of add on to that, because sometimes I'll tweet and people won't understand what I'm talking, because sometimes that appears as foreign language to newbies, right? So digital nomad, that is somebody who travels around with the laptop and basically, utilizes the opportunity with Airbnb and these hotel accommodations that are at cheap prices, rewards programs, and works from their laptop. It doesn't matter if I'm in Zanzibar, Tanzania. It doesn't matter if I'm in South Africa or Canberra, Australia, or Gold Coast, Australia, Auckland, New Zealand, or Zurn, Switzerland, right? I can travel anywhere as long as I have my laptop and cell phone plugged into an internet and I can work. That's a digital nomad, okay? So if you're a digital nomad and you got gold, physical, because the only way you can acquire gold is you have to buy the gold at either a gold dealer down the street or order it online on Goldline or something like that, right? Then you got to put it into a box and make sure it's safe at your house. But if you're out traveling around, working and traveling because that's what your lifestyle is, you're not going to carry the gold around in your pocket, obviously. And it really has no utility to you other than just sitting in your house hoping that no one breaks into your house and steals your safety deposit box. Okay, so you can store it at the bank, right, and pay that yearly fee. That's not really that convenient because then you're paying this fee to just store it. I guess it's convenient. Now, I'm not saying don't own gold or don't own silver because I actually have some silver myself. I don't have any gold, although I should probably take that step. But I was talking to my grandpa. He tells me he has 10 gold coins. And I said, okay. I said, yeah, but can you store my coins for me? Because I travel a lot. I don't want to have to worry about storage. And he's like, well, I'd rather not, you know. That's my grandpa. He's a straight shooter like that. And I was like, okay, well, I'll consider getting into gold. And anyway, so I got to thinking, I was like, man, Grandpa, why don't you just consider Bitcoin as a store of value? And, you know, he's not a big fan of Bitcoin because he's old money generation. But I point that out because Bitcoin just makes sense. Now, here's the thing that kind of frustrates me or makes me on the fence about Bitcoin is, do you guys know there's about 3 million missing coins? So of the circulating supply of Bitcoin, which is about just under 17 million, there's anywhere between 2 to 3 million coins that'll never be recovered again. Even if we go to our Twitter, you have this guy here. Here's just one case. In mid-2013, British IT worker James Hallwells threw away a hard drive that contained 7,500 Bitcoin. That hard drive, worth nearly $100 million, remains in a British landfill to this day. Okay, there's countless stories like this. There's people who passed away who had Bitcoin. There's people who sent Bitcoin and it never got to the wallets. So there's just, and I don't know the exact number, but you can look it up, and I don't think anyone fully knows that answer. But there's a lot of Bitcoin that's lost forever. And you'd have to think over time that scarcity is going to wind up. That's either going to do one of two things. It's either going to deteriorate the liquidity of it is going to deteriorate for sure. But at what point could that make Bitcoin like irrelevant because there's just not enough of it? But the scarcity factor could drive up the price. So those are two things to kind of keep in mind. But I think that, so then I start thinking, well, what about Litecoin? Now, here's the thing about Litecoin. Litecoin creating LitePay and making it an actual currency, it does have a circulating supply of 55 million with a total supply to be 84 million. But maybe Litecoin as a store of value is something that we should consider, especially being that it has always been considered a silver to gold ever since Charlie Lee created it. So what are some advantages to Bitcoin and gold, right? Well, let's take a look at this. If we just look at this here on 99bitcoins.com, so you can go through here, they did a fantastic job of outlining a lot of the things that you should know. Positive aspects of the US dollar. It's easy to transfer and store and claim. So you could take your dollar, store it under your bed, store it in your closet, whatever. In theory, it should have the ability to inflate and deflate. Yeah, in theory. By not having gold tied to its currency, it frees the metals to be used for commercial purposes, prevents banks from collapsing due to high numbers of withdrawals. The process of creating fiat and the system loaning debts that it uses also creates the system needed to process transactions. Debt is money, right? Negative aspects. The power and control of the dollar. Creation of currency is concentrated in the hands of a small group. That's what you guys do not like, is the centralization of money through the central banks. This is one of the biggest problems in my eyes, as the data is readily available and extremely clear, while the stated mission of the Federal Reserve and Treasury is to ensure. Anyways, I'm not going to read all that, okay, but you can see there is some concerns. USD or any fiat is only backed by the word of the government and debt. So the government sets the standard, which I guess if there was anyone who should set the standard, it's better the government than anyone else, right? I think. Positive aspects of a gold-backed currency. Gold has basic value for two reasons. It's rare and useful. Now, the thing about gold that Bitcoin doesn't have, well, will not have, is mining, right? So, and I'm talking about real gold mining. You know, you go up to Alaska and them there hills, you can mine that gold and get in the cave and, you know, find a gold nugget, right? And then that just keeps adding and adding. We don't know how much gold there is in them there hills, in the ground, right? But we do know that Bitcoin has 21 million, and at some point in time, in 20 to 30 years, that will reach the full capacity of all the Bitcoin that's ever created. I don't know the exact time frame, but then there's no more mining. With gold, you can continue to mine gold. It could be under your house right now at some point. You know, if you just drill straight down, maybe there's some gold underneath you. So the scarcity of gold for that, gold cannot be created, right? There's no way to fake gold, okay? It's easy to verify that gold is authentic and relatively pure. A gold-backed currency, as the dollar once was, allows gold to be used without needing to transport the gold itself, right? A gold-backed currency is resistant to manipulation by central bank, government, and other powerful groups. Gold-backed currency maintains a stable exchange rate. For example, while the gold standard, anyways, I'm not going to read all that. Negative aspects of a gold-backed currency. Gold-backed currency needs to be completely backed by the amount of gold it's said to represent. You know, depending on how much gold research you've done, you know how the United States during World War II took custody of a lot of gold for some countries for safekeeping. I want to say Germany, just to name one. I don't know the exact history behind that, but then there's the Fort Knox. What happened to the gold at Fort Knox? You know, and you guys can comment on all that and put your thoughts on about the gold from Fort Knox that supposedly was there, but it's no longer there. And then, you know, you don't know how much gold India, China, Russia, the UK really have, right? The necessary hoarding of gold to back a currency keeps it from being used in ways that are actually useful. The cost of storing and protecting the gold that backs a currency is a wasteful expenditure. That was that safety deposit box expense that I was talking to you guys about. With a Bitcoin, all you need is a hardware wallet, right? Some sort of wallet, software. I mean, it doesn't. I don't know how you're going to store your Bitcoin, but a hardware wallet seems to be one of the preferred ways. As crazy as this sounds, there's a legitimate chance that gold, along with silver, platinum, and other rare elements, will soon be obtainable in much larger quantities. So they're saying that as mining techniques and strategy pick up, it could be possible to extract a lot more precious metals from the earth than we have now, which would drive down the price because there'd be more gold in value. So the scarcity will go away, right? So that's also something to keep in mind about investing in gold. And I give you guys these arguments or these positions to talk about or I show you where you can get these positions to talk about, because when you're encountering old money, they're going to throw these at you. So here's Bitcoin. What's the benefits of Bitcoin? Bitcoin has a built-in scarcity. That's that 21 million, and right now just under 17 million in circulating supply. Bitcoin cannot be truly manipulated. So there's not really a centralized Bitcoin, even though Roger Ver, he would say Bitcoin Core is centralized. But then again, people would say Bitcoin Cash is centralized with Roger Ver and Jihan Wu. So we'll see. Bitcoin cannot be truly manipulated. We talked about that. Bitcoin transactions are instant. Well, kind of instant, right? They're working on it. Bitcoin transactions are irreversible. This once is a double-edged sword, at least currently. This one is a double-edged sword. Bitcoin is transparent. The reason I can make some of those transactions above is simple, because there is nothing hidden with Bitcoin, unlike USD, where the inner workings of the Fed and what they will do with the currency, or even gold. As it is difficult to make an accurate judgment on how much gold is currently available or may become available in the future, Bitcoin's parameters are known. So you can come on to 99 Bitcoins and check this out. The URL is Bitcoin Gold USD. Bitcoin is the most efficient transaction processing system ever created because the ledger is handled by computers, and the way transactions are processed and recorded process is more efficient than any other payment processing system that relies on humans to analyze. Okay, so what is my opinion about the... Okay, so everyone says gold or, Bitcoin. The problem with Bitcoin is the government, you don't know where the government's going to take this. But here's something that a lot of people don't talk about, EMP. There's always that threat. I don't know if you guys ever studied like Armageddon or nuclear warfare or anything like that, but the grid, the grid, like we've had solar flares take out grids. So there's a weaponry. You got the Rod of God, which is supposedly a Spa Wars thing by the U.S. government. I don't know if you know about the Rod of God, but you can look it up online. It's basically a satellite in the sky, and But EMP, so an electromagnetic pulse. So here's the idea. A nation state that's not friendly to one of the others, right? flies a satellite overhead. So space wars are a big thing. Everyone talks about the Navy, the Marines, and everything, but back in the 80s, Ronald Reagan introduced the space wars, and that's basically using space technology for warfare. But fly a satellite overhead, explode that thing, create an electromagnetic pulse that knocks out the grid. What happens to your Bitcoin then? So why do I bring that up? To create FUD? No. That's called common knowledge. You can look it up. Okay? I know a lot of you guys understand what I'm talking about. So look that up. EMP attacks, and if you wanted to look up the Rod of God and SPA wars, space wars, you could see some of these ideas. But how would that affect? I mean, that the internet so far has been impenetrable in the sense that it's always worked, right? But it's a cloud, essentially. All this stuff, cryptocurrency, all your data and everything, all the books being put online, it could be wiped forever if something were to happen to the internet. But what will still be here? Books, gold, silver, you get the point. That's why I think it's important to consider diversifying. But I put this out there to get you guys thinking, to get you guys talking and engaging in conversations, because that's where we need to push this conversation with the people, the masses, the herd, and see where this goes. Follow us on Instagram if you're not already, Altcoin Buzz. And keep up with us on Twitter. Also, I put a link to our Facebook group you can join here, and our Telegram group. And remember, this is Jeff with Altcoin Buzz. You can subscribe to this channel and turn on that bell to get notified when videos like this drop. We'll see y'all next time.